Okay, let's get into it. We're focusing today squarely on the Donetsk region.
Right, specifically the intense fighting around Pokrovsk. The reports coming out around November 5th paint a really interesting picture.
Yeah, interesting is one word for it. It's this kind of paradox, isn't it? You've got these high-level statements of success, but then these, frankly, alarming reports from the ground.
Exactly. And that tension is what we need to explore. We're sticking just to the sources we have, President Zelensky's statements, Ukrainian military reports, news outlets.
The aim here is to really distill the facts. How do we square, the idea of a systematic elimination with reports saying maybe 1,000 Russian troops actually broke through?
Well, that's the critical question, isn't it? For you trying to follow this, it's about understanding how these localized maybe setbacks fit into the bigger picture.
It makes you ask, okay, if the elimination is so systematic, how does a breach like that happen?
Well, it suggests we might be seeing a crisis response within a larger defensive plan. It's not just about holding a line perfectly, maybe it's also about reacting and recovering fast.
So where do we start? The president's assessment seems like the logical place.
I think so. That sets the strategic frame. President Zelensky's address on November 5th, his evening address, was very specific.
He didn't really dwell on the breach itself, did he? He focused more on the response, the organization, claiming this systematic elimination was happening both in Pokrovsk city and the surrounding areas.
Right. And using a phrase like systematic elimination, I mean, that's strong language from a head of state. It signals the goal isn't just containment, it's destruction of the enemy forces that got through.
And he went further, highlighting specific units involved. That wasn't just a general thank you to the troops.
No, absolutely not. That detail is crucial. He specifically mentioned the special forces, the security services, the Special Operations Center, the SSU, called out their special successes.
The SSU, right. They're usually involved in counterintelligence, more sensitive stuff.
Typically, yes. High priority ops. So highlighting them suggests this wasn't just about brute force infantry clashes. It points towards intelligence-driven actions being really important in managing this Pokrovsk situation. Surgical strikes, perhaps.
And he didn't stop there. Assault units were mentioned, and significantly, operators from the unmanned systems forces.
Ah, yes. That's a very clear nod to how modern warfare is being fought. Praising the drone operators, the UAV units, that tells you how vital that technology is.
Especially in a city, right, for finding and targeting forces who've infiltrated dense urban areas.
Exactly. Real-time intel precision strikes. Absolutely essential when you're trying to track down potentially up to 1,000 soldiers who've gotten inside your lines. He also mentioned the National Guard, military law enforcement, defense intelligence.
So painting a picture of a sort of unified effort across different branches.
Definitely. And the communication flow seems to reflect that, too.
Yes.
Zelensky said he got reports from the main military command, but also a separate briefing from the SSU head, Vesel Malyuk.
A separate SSU briefing. That does underline the importance of the intelligence and special ops angle in this specific fight, doesn't it?
It really does. It suggests the situation was serious enough, high priority enough, to need multiple information streams feeding right to the top. Layered analysis, basically. Okay, so that's the strategic narrative from the top. Organized, specialized forces systematically dealing with the threat. But let's get down to the ground level. The reason for this intense response, the breakthrough itself. How did potentially 1,000 Russian soldiers get into Pokrovsk? That's based on the RBC Ukraine sources. And that's the tactical reality check. 1,000 soldiers breaking through into the city proper. That's a significant breach, a serious problem. It means the initial forward defenses failed, at least temporarily.
Which demands an immediate, pretty aggressive countermove to stop it getting worse.
Right, the priority shifts instantly, from elimination maybe back to basic containment first. Stop the bleeding, so to speak.
So what was that immediate action? How did they stop that pocket of, say, 1,000 troops from digging in or getting reinforced?
Well, the sources point to a specific action around November 3rd. It involved the 7th Rapid Response Corps of the Ukrainian Air Assault Forces. These are elite troops, highly mobile.
Air assault forces, okay. And what did they do?
They reportedly stopped the Russian advance in the northern part of Pokrovsk. But crucially, they held on to a strategically important road.
The road. Why is holding one road so critical in that kind of chaotic situation?
Because roads are like arteries in military operations. Control the key roads, and you control movement, supply, reinforcement. If the Russians had secured that road,
They could have stabilized their position, brought in heavier gear, maybe even tried to encircle the area.
potentially, yes. By holding that road, the 7th Corps essentially bottled up the infiltration. They stopped a tactical breakthrough from becoming a bigger strategic problem. They contained it.
Okay, so that's the vital defensive action on the edge of the city.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned Zelensky's systematic elimination claim. Is there evidence of Ukrainian forces actively clearing out Russians inside the city too?
Yes, there is. And this ties back to specific unit actions. Take the city council building, for example.
The city council, what happened there?
On November 5th, reports came out from the 425th Skalia Separate Assault Regiment. They said they had cleared Russian forces out of the Pokrovsk City Council building.
Wow, okay. So right in the middle of this apparent chaos with maybe hundreds of enemy troops inside the city limits, a Ukrainian unit retakes a major building, like the city council.
Exactly. And they raised the Ukrainian flag there again. It's symbolic, of course, hugely symbolic, but it's also tactical.
How so?
Well, these big administrative buildings often become command posts, observation points, strong defensive positions. Retaking it shows Ukrainian forces still had the command, control, and capability to launch targeted counterattacks within the contested urban zone.
So it wasn't just holding the perimeter, they were actively fighting and reclaiming ground inside too.
Precisely. It paints a picture of intense, back-and-forth urban fighting. Control of specific points might change hands, but the Ukrainians seem to have maintained enough operational coherence to push back effectively in key locations.
It sort of brings the two narratives together, doesn't it? The initial shock of the infiltration, followed by this layered, specialized response holding the edges, counterattacking inside.
Yes, and that organized response also extended to controlling the information space, the narrative around the battle.
Yeah, the strategic communications aspect, what were they pushing back against?
Specifically, claims of a siege. The General Staff of Ukraine put out a statement also on November 5th, flatly denying Russian propaganda that Pokrovsk was under siege or encircled.
That denial is important, isn't it? A siege narrative can be really damaging, causes panic, hurts morale, might affect international perceptions.
Hugely damaging. So, by strongly denying it, the Ukrainian command was projecting confidence. They were saying, yes, the fighting is heavy, yes, there was a breach, but we have strategic control. This is not an encirclement.
And that message was reinforced by President Zelensky actually being near the front lines, wasn't it? He visited the Pokrovsk and Dobropilya areas on November 4th.
Right, just before these reports became public.
Yeah.
That kind of visit serves multiple purposes. It's a morale booster for the troops, definitely.
Sure, seeing the leader there. But it's also a signal. It focuses attention, resources, ensures this critical sector is getting the highest level of command oversight. It underlines Pokrovsk matters strategically.
Okay, so pulling all these threads together, what's the main takeaway for you listening to this? It seems the battle for Pokrovsk around this time was really defined by this stark contrast.
Yeah, a dangerous Russian infiltration, a real localized success for them initially, but met almost immediately by this systematic, multi-branch Ukrainian counterpunch.
And the sources really seem to highlight the role of those specialized units, the SSU, the drone operators, the air assault troops on that critical road. Absolutely. It suggests their effectiveness was key in preventing that tactical breach from spiraling into a full-blown strategic disaster. Holding the road, clearing key buildings, denying the siege narrative, it all points to a coordinated, specialized effort.
So the bottom line seems to be that in this kind of high-intensity city fight, it's not just about numbers. It's about speed, intelligence, specialization, and how well different parts of the military can work together under extreme pressure.
Precisely. The integration of those elements, special forces, UAVs, rapid response units, seems to be what defined the successful containment here. It's a snapshot of modern combined arms defense in action.
A clear lesson coming out of the source material itself.
Which does leave us with something to think about, maybe a final question for you. Given how specifically Zelensky and the reports named the successful units, SSU, assault regiments, drone forces, intelligence units.
Yeah, the level of detail was striking.
Right. So what might that very detailed public acknowledgement tell us about the shifting priorities within the Ukrainian military command right now? Are we seeing a deliberate strategic move towards prioritizing these rapid, specialized, intelligence-led units, especially for critical urban defense scenarios, perhaps even over more traditional larger formations? It's worth considering if that specialization is becoming the core focus,